There is no doubt that the reaction of the legal academy, with a very few exceptions, and of the religious establishment of all denominations and persuasions was that the sky is falling. As one distinguished scholar put it, this is just the first step to religious persecution.
20 years ago, David Frohnmayer argued a case before the Supreme Court that was to transform the legal landscape. The case, Employment Division versus Smith, better known as the Peyote case, involved whether or not an employee could be fired for using peyote during a Native American religious ritual.
We had no idea that a majority of the court would use the occasion of this little case, this unremarkable case, to recast the entire First Amendment religion clauses as it did.
To commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Supreme Court ruling, Cardozo Law School hosted a gathering of legal scholars and professionals. The program was organized by Professor Marcy Hamilton, who was a Supreme Court clerk at the time for Associate Justice Sandra Day O'Connor.
Employment Division versus Smith could have been a very routine case. Yet 20 years ago, the Supreme Court makes its decision, and it's a landmark in religious freedom.
Well, in 1990, when the case was decided, there was a wide agreement among law professors, at least, that only the strictest scrutiny would be applied to any law that affects religious liberty. But they were actually wrong, and the Supreme Court said, we've looked over all of our cases and we don't see the rule that you say is there. We see that religious individuals have to obey the law. The result was a huge political backlash from lots of law and religion professors, but also religious groups, who immediately went to Congress to lobby to get this decision overruled. So one of the most fascinating parts of this case is that it triggered what amounts to a separation of powers crisis, where Congress took over the First Amendment from the court.
At the time, none of the people involved in the decision realized it would have such far-reaching implications.
You were working for Justice O'Connor when this court decision came down. You were clerking for her. Everybody was surprised by it. What was going on? What was the drumbeat going on inside the court as this was being decided?
They issued a decision that professors like Professor Michael McConnell, Douglas Laycock immediately threw under the bus. But for the justices, this was just an average case. And I can tell you, for the clerks, we didn't understand that this was the most important case of our year. It had to have its political momentum before we really saw what was going to happen.
It's an interesting example of the interplay between Congress and the United States Supreme Court. It's a fascinating case about the use or misuse of precedent. It's a very, very relevant case to study and to argue about in very great detail.